The notification lit up her phone at 3 in the morning. A single comment beneath the photo she had posted just hours earlier. Her newborn daughter, wrapped in a hospital blanket, tiny fist curled against her cheek. The comment was simple, direct, and possible. Is this my child? The username belonged to someone she had tried to forget. Someone who had walked away without looking back. Someone who now ran a company worth more than she would earn in 10 lifetimes. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Maya Rodriguez stared at those 4 words until her vision blurred, until the phone screen dimmed, until her daughter stirred in the bassinet beside her bed. The morning Maya's life split into before and after began unremarkably. She woke to sunlight streaming through thin curtains in her studio apartment, the kind of light that made dust particles visible and exposed every crack in the ceiling. Her daughter, 3 days old, slept in a secondhand bassinet position close enough that Maya could reach out and touch her without leaving the mattress on the floor. Maya had named her Sophie. No middle name, no father's surname to hyphenate or append. Just Sophie Rodriguez. Clean, simple, hers alone. The apartment smelled of formula and the faint antiseptic scent that had followed them home from the hospital. Maya's body ached in ways she had not anticipated. Despite the prenatal classes and the pamphlets and the advice from her mother delivered over crackling phone lines from 3 states away. Everything hurt. Her back, her chest, the space between her ribs where exhaustion had taken up permanent residence. She checked her phone out of habit, the way people do before their minds have fully surfaced from sleep. Social media notifications, mostly. A few likes on the photo she had posted last night. Her cousin in Denver had commented with a string of heart emojis. An old roommate from college had written, "She's beautiful. Congratulations." Then she saw it. The comment sat at the bottom of the thread, posted 20 minutes ago. The profile picture was blank, just the generic silhouette placeholder. The username was a combination of initials and numbers that meant nothing to most people, but sent ice through Maya's veins. Is this my child? Her breath caught. She read it again. Then a third time. Her thumb hovered over the delete button, trembling. Sophie made a small sound, a whimper that would crescendo into crying if Maya did not respond quickly. She set the phone down, screen facing the mattress, and lifted her daughter from the bassinet. Sophie latched immediately, hungry and insistent. Maya closed her eyes and tried to focus on the rhythm of nursing, the way the lactation consultant had taught her. But her mind kept returning to the comment, to the implications coiled inside those 4 words. He could not possibly know. She had been careful. She had not listed him anywhere on any form. She had moved twice since they last spoke. She had changed her number. She had made herself invisible. Yet somehow, across the distance she had worked so hard to create, he had found her. Maya had met Daniel Brooks 3 years earlier at a conference in Chicago. She had been working as a junior project coordinator for a nonprofit focused on urban housing development. He had been a keynote speaker, recently promoted to vice president of operations at a tech company that was making headlines for its aggressive expansion into affordable housing software solutions. She had not intended to approach him. She had been content to sit in the back row, take notes, and leave without drawing attention. But the panel had run long, and when it ended, she found herself standing near the coffee station at the same time he did. He smiled at her, easy and disarming, and asked if she thought the discussion had been as dry as he suspected it was. She laughed despite herself. It had been dry, painfully so. They talked for 15 minutes, then 30, then an hour. When the venue staff began stacking chairs and dimming lights, Daniel suggested they continue the conversation over dinner. Maya hesitated. She was not the kind of person who said yes to spontaneous dinners with strangers, even charming ones. But something about the way he listened, really listened, made her feel seen in a way she had not felt in years. Dinner turned into drinks. Drinks turned into a walk along the river. By the time they said goodnight, Maya had given him her number and he had promised to call. He did. Not the next day, but 2 days later. They began talking regularly, long conversations that stretched past midnight. He flew to visit her twice. She visited him once. The relationship was undefined, existing in that strange space between casual and committed. Maya told herself she was fine with that. She was busy with work. She was not looking for anything serious. Then she missed her period. She took the test alone in her bathroom, hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped it. 2 lines, clear and undeniable. She sat on the edge of the tub for an hour, phone in hand, trying to compose a message to Daniel, trying to find words that would not sound like a trap or an accusation or a plea. She finally sent a simple text. "Can we talk? It's important." He called that night. She told him plainly, without preamble. She was pregnant. 6 weeks. She had already scheduled an appointment with her doctor. She was not asking him for anything. She just thought he should know. The silence on the other end of the line stretched so long she thought the call had dropped. Then he spoke, his voice careful, measured. He needed time to think. He needed to talk to his lawyer. He would call her back. He did not call back. Maya tried reaching him twice more over the next week. Both calls went to voicemail. Her texts went unanswered. She considered flying to see him, showing up at his office, forcing the conversation. But pride stopped her. If he did not want to be part of this, she would not beg. She made her decision alone. She would have the baby. She would figure it out. She had a job, a small savings account, a network of friends who would help. She did not need him. Months passed. Her belly grew. She moved into a cheaper apartment to save money. She applied for state assistance and swallowed the shame that came with it. She attended prenatal appointments alone, listening to the heartbeat through the Doppler, watching the ultrasound screen as the technician pointed out fingers and toes. She did not post about the pregnancy on social media. She did not send announcements. She kept it quiet, contained, hers alone, until 3 days ago, when Sophie was born. Maya had labored for 18 hours. No partner in the delivery room. Just a nurse who held her hand during the worst contractions and a doctor who arrived at the last possible moment. When Sophie finally emerged, wailing and red-faced, Maya wept harder than she had ever wept in her life. The nurse placed Sophie on her chest, skin to skin, and Maya felt something shift inside her. A fierce, overwhelming protectiveness. A love so sharp it bordered on pain. She took a photo later that night, after Sophie had been cleaned and measured and wrapped in the hospital's standard-issue blanket. The baby was asleep, her face peaceful, her tiny hand curled near her mouth. Maya posted it without thinking too hard about who might see it. It was a moment of joy, a declaration. Look what I made. Look what I did. She had not expected him to see it. She had not expected him to care. Now, sitting in her apartment with Sophie nursing and the phone still face down on the mattress, Maya felt the careful walls she had built begin to crack. Sophie finished nursing and fell back asleep almost immediately. Maya placed her gently in the bassinet, tucking the blanket around her with the kind of precision born from anxiety. Then she picked up her phone again. The comment was still there. No follow-up, no explanation. Just those 4 words hanging in digital space. Maya's first instinct was to delete it, pretend she had never seen it, block the account, and move on. But curiosity gnawed at her. If Daniel had found her, if he was asking this question publicly where anyone could see it, what did that mean? Was it a genuine question? A legal maneuver? A moment of impulse he would regret by morning? She opened a private message window and typed quickly before she could second-guess herself. "Why are you asking me this here?" She hit send and immediately regretted it. She should have ignored him. She should have protected herself and Sophie from whatever complications this would bring. But it was too late now. The message was delivered, marked as read almost instantly. 3 dots appeared, indicating he was typing. They disappeared, appeared again, disappeared. Finally, a message came through. I saw the photo. I saw the date. I did the math. Maya's jaw tightened. Of course he did the math. Of course he was approaching this like a problem to be solved, a calculation to be verified. She typed back, fingers jabbing at the screen harder than necessary. You didn't want to know before. Why now? Another long pause. The dots appeared and vanished twice before his response arrived. I made a mistake. I need to know if she's mine. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time. So if you're enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Maya stared at the message until the words blurred. A mistake. 3 years of silence condensed into 2 words. A mistake. She wanted to throw the phone across the room. She wanted to scream that he did not get to decide when to care, when to show up, when to claim fatherhood. But Sophie was sleeping, and Maya was exhausted, and fighting over text messages felt pointless. She set the phone down without responding and walked to the small kitchen area. The apartment was barely 400 square feet, divided into living space, sleeping space, and a kitchenette that consisted of a hot plate, a mini fridge, and a sink. She filled a glass with water and drank it slowly, staring out the single window that overlooked a parking lot. Her phone buzzed again. Then again. She ignored it. Outside, the city was waking up. Cars pulled out of driveways. A neighbor's dog barked. Somewhere nearby, a garbage truck rumbled down the street. Normal sounds. Normal life, continuing as if nothing had shifted. Maya returned to the mattress and picked up her phone. 3 new messages. I know I have no right to ask, but if she's mine, I want to be involved. Please, just tell me. Maya closed her eyes. She thought about the night she told him she was pregnant, the silence that followed, the calls that went unanswered, the months she spent preparing alone, assembling a crib by herself, attending birthing classes where everyone else had a partner. She thought about the moment Sophie was born, the way the nurse had asked if there was anyone she wanted to call, and Maya had said no because there was no one. She thought about the future she had mapped out in her mind. Single mother, sole provider, sole decision maker. It was lonely, yes, but it was also clear, simple, hers to control. Letting Daniel back in would complicate everything. But keeping him out would mean Sophie grew up without a father, without financial support, without the resources a man like Daniel could provide. Maya hated that the decision felt transactional. She hated that she had to weigh love against money, principle against practicality. But she also knew that raising a child alone in a city as expensive as this one was going to be brutal. She had already done the math. Her savings would last 6 months, maybe 8 if she was careful. Her job had granted her 12 weeks of unpaid leave, but after that, she would need childcare, and childcare costs more than her rent. She typed slowly, choosing each word with care. Yes, she's yours. The response came within seconds. I want to meet her. Maya's stomach twisted. She had expected questions, maybe demands for a paternity test. She had not expected immediacy. When, she typed. Today. Tomorrow. As soon as possible. She almost laughed, as if he could just insert himself into their lives on his schedule, as if the past 9 months had not happened. I need time, she wrote back. How much time? I don't know. A week. Maybe more. Another pause. Then a message that made her chest tighten. I'm already in town. Maya sat up straighter, heart pounding. What do you mean you're in town? I flew in last night. After I saw the photo, I'm staying at the Marriott downtown. I can be there in 20 minutes if you give me the address. Panic surged through her. He was here, not in another state, not safely distant, but here. Close enough to show up unannounced. Close enough to disrupt the fragile peace she had built. No. She typed quickly. Not today. I just got home from the hospital. I'm not ready. Then when Maya wanted to scream at him through the screen. She wanted to ask him where this urgency had been 9 months ago. But Sophie stirred in the bassinet, making soft mewling sounds, and Maya forced herself to breathe. I'll let you know, she typed. Then she muted the conversation and set the phone aside. Sophie woke fully then, her cries escalating from whimper to wail in seconds. Maya lifted her, cradled her, whispered soothing nonsense as she paced the small space. The apartment felt even smaller now, claustrophobic, as if Daniel's presence in the city had somehow collapsed the distance between them. She spent the rest of the morning in a daze, moving through the motions of new motherhood on autopilot. Diaper changes, feedings, brief moments of sleep stolen while Sophie napped. Her phone buzzed periodically, but she did not check it. By early afternoon, exhaustion had blurred the edges of everything. Maya sat on the mattress, Sophie asleep on her chest, and finally allowed herself to think clearly. Daniel was here. He wanted to meet Sophie. He claimed he wanted to be involved. But wanting and doing were different things. She had learned that the hard way. If she let him in, what would that look like? Joint custody? Child support? Holidays split between households? Or would he lose interest again after the novelty wore off, leaving Sophie to wonder why her father kept disappearing? Maya did not have answers. She barely had the energy to form the questions. Her phone buzzed again, and this time she looked. Another message from Daniel. I know you don't trust me. I don't blame you. But I'm not going away. Not this time. She stared at the words for a long moment. Then she typed a single sentence. Coffee tomorrow. Public place. Just us. His response was immediate. Thank you. Text me the address. Maya set the phone down and looked at Sophie, still sleeping peacefully, unaware of the storm forming around her. Tomorrow, Maya would meet the man who had walked away, the man who now wanted back in, and she would have to decide whether to open the door or keep it closed. The coffee shop Maya chose was deliberately neutral. A chain location in a busy shopping district, the kind of place where anonymity was easy and leaving quickly was even easier. She arrived 15 minutes early, Sophie strapped to her chest in a fabric wrap, and claimed a corner table near the back. Her hand shook as she ordered a decaf latte. She had not slept well. Every time she closed her eyes, her mind churned through scenarios. Arguments she might have, questions she needed to ask, boundaries she would set. But now, sitting in the too-bright coffee shop with soft indie music playing overhead, all her prepared speeches felt inadequate. Sophie fussed slightly, and Maya adjusted the wrap, swaying gently. A woman at a nearby table smiled at her, the kind of knowing smile mothers exchange. Maya tried to smile back, but her face felt stiff. Then she saw him. Daniel walked through the door, and for a moment, Maya forgot how to breathe. He looked the same, taller than she remembered. Maybe, or perhaps it was just the confidence he carried, the way he moved through space as if he belonged everywhere. He wore dark jeans and a gray sweater, casual but expensive. His hair was shorter than it had been. He scanned the room, and when his eyes found hers, he stopped. They stared at each other across the coffee shop, a handful of seconds that felt like hours. Then he walked toward her, his expression unreadable. Maya stood, instinctively protective, one hand cupping the back of Sophie's head through the wrap. Daniel stopped a few feet away. His gaze dropped to the baby, and something shifted in his face. Softened, broke open. Hi, he said quietly. Hi, Maya replied. Her voice sounded steadier than she felt. He gestured to the chair across from her. Can I sit? She nodded. They sat in awkward silence. Daniel kept looking at Sophie, then away, then back again, as if he could not quite believe what he was seeing. She's real, he said finally, almost to himself. Of course she's real, Maya said, sharper than she intended. What did you think? He flinched. I don't know. I saw the photo, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. About you. About what I did. Maya's jaw tightened. What you did was disappear. I know. You didn't call. You didn't ask how I was. You didn't even send money. I know. His voice was low, heavy with something that might have been regret. So why now? Maya demanded. Why show up after she's born? Why not 9 months ago when I needed you? Daniel ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she remembered from before, a sign that he was uncomfortable, unsure. I was scared. Scared. Maya repeated the word flatly. Yes. Scared of being a father. Scared of failing. Scared of... He trailed off, shaking his head. It doesn't matter. There's no excuse. I handled it badly. I handled everything badly. Sophie made a small sound, and Maya automatically began swaying again, the motion soothing. Daniel watched, his expression pained. Can I see her? He asked quietly. Maya hesitated. Every instinct screamed at her to say no, to protect Sophie from a man who had already proven unreliable. But another part of her, the part that was exhausted and overwhelmed and drowning in responsibility, wanted to say yes, wanted to share the weight. She's sleeping, Maya said finally. I know. I like to see her face. Maya carefully adjusted the wrap, loosening the fabric just enough to reveal Sophie's face. The baby was deeply asleep, her features relaxed, her breathing steady. Daniel leaned forward slightly, and Maya saw his throat work as he swallowed hard. His eyes glistened. "She looks like you," he whispered. "She has your nose," Maya said before she could stop herself. He smiled, small and sad. "Does she?" They sat in silence again, but this time it felt less hostile. Just heavy, weighted with everything unsaid. "What's her name?" Daniel asked. "Sophie." "Sophie," he repeated softly, as if testing the word. "It's beautiful." "Thank you." Another long pause. Then Daniel spoke again, his voice careful. "I meant what I said in the message. I want to be involved. I want to be your father." Maya pulled the wrap closed again, covering Sophie. "Wanting isn't enough." "I know that too." "Do you?" Maya challenged. "Because wanting is easy. Showing up every day is hard. Waking up at 3 in the morning is hard. Changing diapers and dealing with crying and sacrificing everything you used to have, that's hard. Can you actually do that?" Daniel met her eyes. "I don't know, but I want to try." "Trying isn't enough either. She deserves more than trying." "Then tell me what she deserves," Daniel said, frustration creeping into his tone. "Tell me what I need to do." Maya leaned back in her chair, suddenly exhausted. "I don't know. I don't have the answers. I'm figuring this out day by day." "Then let me figure out with you." She wanted to believe him. Some small, naive part of her that remembered the man she met in Chicago wanted to believe that people could change, that fear could be overcome, that he might actually stay. But the larger, wiser part of her knew better. "I need time," she said again. "How much time?" "I don't know. Weeks. Maybe months." Daniel's jaw tightened. "I've already missed so much. That's not my fault. I'm not saying it is." "Then don't make me feel guilty for being careful." He exhaled slowly, visibly reining himself in. "You're right. I'm sorry. I don't want to miss more." Maya looked down at Sophie, her tiny fingers curled into fists, her chest rising and falling with each breath. She thought about the future, about Sophie asking where her father was, about trying to explain why he had not been there from the beginning. "If you're serious about this," Maya said slowly, "then we need rules. Okay, you don't get to just show up whenever you want. You don't get to disrupt her routine. You don't get to make promises you can't keep." "I understand. And if you disappear again," Maya's voice hardened, "you don't get a third chance." Daniel nodded, his expression solemn. "I won't disappear. We'll see," Maya said quietly. They finished their coffee in near silence. Daniel asked a few questions. How was the delivery? Was she getting enough sleep? Did she need anything? Maya answered briefly, guardedly. She was not ready to share the intimate details of the past few days. Not with him. Not yet. When Sophie began to fuss, Maya stood. "I need to go. She's due for a feeding." Daniel stood too. "Can I see you again? Tomorrow?" Maya adjusted the wrap, buying herself a moment to think. "Not tomorrow. I'll text you." Disappointment flickered across his face, but he nodded. "Okay." They walked outside together, the afternoon sun bright and cold. Daniel hesitated on the sidewalk, hands in his pockets. "Thank you," he said, "for meeting me, for giving me a chance." Maya did not respond. She simply turned and walked toward the bus stop, Sophie secure against her chest, Daniel's eyes following her until she disappeared around the corner. That night, after Sophie was fed and changed and finally sleeping, Maya lay on the mattress staring at the ceiling. Her phone sat beside her, Daniel's contact information pulled up on the screen. She had not saved his number when they first met. She had deleted it after he stopped calling. But now it was back, a name and a number that represented possibility and danger in equal measure. Her mother called just after 9. Maya almost did not answer, but guilt won out. "Hi, Mom." "Maya, sweetheart, how are you feeling? How's the baby?" "We're okay. Tired, but okay." Her mother's voice was warm, soothing. "The first few weeks are the hardest. But you're strong. You'll get through it." Maya closed her eyes. "Mom, something happened." "What is it?" She told her mother everything. The photo, the comment, the meeting today. Her mother listened without interrupting, a skill Maya had always appreciated. When she finished, her mother was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want to do?" she asked finally. "I don't know." "Do you think he's sincere?" "I don't know that either." "Then take your time. Don't let him rush you." You don't owe him anything. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. But Sophie does. She deserves a father. She deserves a father who shows up. If he can't do that, she's better off without him. Maya wiped at her eyes with the back of her hand. What if I'm making the wrong choice? What if I keep him away and she resents me for it later? You're not keeping him away. You're protecting her. There's a difference. They talked for a few more minutes before Maya's exhaustion made it hard to follow the conversation. They said their goodbyes, and Maya set the phone aside. Sophie stirred, making soft sounds in her sleep. Maya reached out and placed her hand gently on the baby's stomach, feeling the rise and fall of her breathing. Tomorrow, she would have to make decisions, set boundaries, figure out how to navigate co-parenting with a man who had proven himself unreliable. But tonight, she simply let herself be a mother, present, protective, alone but not lonely. The following days fell into a strange rhythm. Maya took care of Sophie. Daniel sent messages. She responded when she felt ready, which was never as quickly as he wanted. He asked to visit again. She said no, not yet. He asked if he could send things. Baby clothes, a crib, diapers. She hesitated, then agreed to let him send diapers. Practical, necessary, nothing that felt like he was trying to buy his way in. A package arrived 2 days later. Not just diapers, but wipes, formula, a set of onesies in soft pastel colors. Maya stared at the boxes stacked in her tiny entryway and felt a confusing mix of gratitude and resentment. She sent him a text. Thank you for the supplies, but I asked for diapers only. His response came quickly. I know. I'm sorry. I just wanted to help. She did not reply. That night, Sophie would not stop crying. Maya tried everything. Feeding, changing, rocking, singing. Nothing worked. The cries escalated until they filled the small apartment, piercing and relentless. Maya sat on the floor, back against the wall, Sophie screaming in her arms, and felt herself break. Tears poured down her face. Her chest heaved with sobs she tried to muffle against Sophie's blanket. She did not know how long she sat there. Time blurred, but eventually, Sophie's cries quieted to whimpers, then silence. Exhaustion had won. Maya stayed on the floor, holding her sleeping daughter, feeling the weight of everything pressed down on her. The loneliness, the fear, the overwhelming responsibility of keeping another human alive. Her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. I know it's late, but if you need anything, I'm awake. Maya stared at the message. She wanted to ignore it. She wanted to prove she could do this alone. But exhaustion stripped away her pride. She typed with one hand, the other still cradling Sophie. How do you make her stop crying? The response was almost immediate. Is she fed? Changed? Yes. She just won't settle. Sometimes they just need to cry it out. It's not your fault. Maya closed her eyes, fresh tears sliding down her cheeks. It feels like my fault. You're doing everything right. I promise. She did not know why his words helped, but they did. Just a little. Thank you, she typed. Can I call you? Maya hesitated, then typed, okay. Her phone rang seconds later. She answered, but did not speak first. Maya, Daniel's voice was gentle. I'm here. Are you okay? No. Her voice broke on the word. Tell me what's wrong. Everything. I'm so tired. I can't think straight. She cries and I don't know how to help her, and I feel like I'm failing. You're not failing. You're 3 days into being a mother. It's supposed to be hard. Everyone else makes it look easy. No one finds it easy. They just don't show you the hard parts. Maya leaned her head back against the wall. I don't know if I can do this. You can. You're stronger than you think. You don't know that. Yes, I do. You carried her for 9 months alone. You gave birth alone. You brought her home alone. If that's not strength, I don't know what is. Maya cried quietly, and Daniel stayed on the line, not speaking, just present. After a while, she whispered, I should go. She might wake up. Okay, but Maya? Yeah. I meant what I said. If you need anything, call me. Anytime. She ended the call without responding and sat in the dark apartment, Sophie warm against her chest, Daniel's words echoing in her mind. Maybe, just maybe, she did not have to do this entirely alone. But trusting him again felt like stepping off a cliff without knowing if there was ground below. The days continued. Maya allowed Daniel small steps. A video call where he could see Sophie awake. Another meeting at the coffee shop. Then, finally, a visit to her apartment. She cleaned obsessively before he arrived. Not because she cared what he thought, she told herself, but because the space was so small that clutter made it feel suffocating. When he knocked, her heart hammered. She opened the door slowly. Daniel stood in the hallway holding a bag. "I brought lunch. I hope that's okay." She stepped aside to let him in. He entered carefully, as if aware that he was stepping into sacred space. His eyes took in the apartment quickly. The mattress on the floor, the bassinet, the tiny kitchen. He did not comment, but Maya saw something shift in his expression. Understanding, maybe, or guilt. "She's sleeping," Maya said, gesturing to the bassinet. Daniel set the bag on the small counter and walked over slowly. He stood looking down at Sophie for a long moment, hands at his sides, not touching. "Can I hold her?" he asked quietly. Maya's first instinct was to say no, but she forced herself to nod. She carefully lifted Sophie from the bassinet and placed her in Daniel's arms, showing him how to support her head. His hands were large and awkward, but gentle. Sophie stirred, but did not wake. Daniel stared down at her with an expression Maya had never seen on his face before. Wonder, fear, love. "She's so small," he whispered. "She'll grow fast." They stood together in the cramped apartment, Daniel holding his daughter for the first time, Maya watching with a guarded heart. When Sophie woke and began to fuss, Maya took her back. Daniel watched as she nursed, his gaze respectful, not intrusive. They ate the lunch he brought, sandwiches from a deli downtown. They talked carefully, avoiding the past, focusing on logistics. When could he visit again? What did Sophie need? How was Maya managing financially? That last question made her bristle. "I'm managing. I want to help. I don't need your money." "It's not about what you need. It's about what Sophie deserves." Maya set down her sandwich. "Don't use her as leverage." "I'm not. I'm trying to be responsible." "You should have been responsible 9 months ago." Daniel's jaw tightened. "You're right. But I can't change the past. I can only try to do better now." They finished eating in tense silence. When Daniel left, he paused at the door. "Thank you for letting me meet her." "Really meet her?" Maya nodded, but said nothing. After he was gone, she locked the door and leaned against it, feeling the weight of everything settle back onto her shoulders. This was going to be harder than she thought. 3 weeks passed in a blur of sleepless nights and tentative visits. Daniel came by twice more, always bringing something unnecessary. A stuffed elephant, a mobile with dangling stars, books about parenting that Maya left stacked on the counter, unopened. She watched him carefully during these visits, looking for signs that his interest would fade, waiting for the moment he would check his watch too many times or make excuses about work commitments. But he kept showing up, kept asking questions, kept holding Sophie with increasing confidence. Maya hated that she was starting to trust him, even a little. One afternoon, Daniel arrived with papers tucked under his arm. Maya tensed immediately when she saw them. "What are those?" she asked, not opening the door fully. "Can I come in first?" She hesitated, then stepped aside. Daniel entered and set the papers on the counter. Maya glanced at them without picking them up. Legal documents. She could see the header from where she stood. "I had my lawyer draw up a custody agreement," Daniel said carefully. "Nothing binding, just a proposal, something we could work from." Maya's stomach dropped. "You brought a lawyer into this?" "I wanted to do things properly. Show you I'm serious." "Serious about what? Taking her from me?" "No." Daniel's voice was firm. "That's not what this is. Look, I know you don't trust me. I understand why. But I thought if we had something in writing, something fair, it might make you feel more secure." Maya picked up the papers with shaking hands. She scanned the first page. Joint legal custody, shared decision-making, a visitation schedule that started with supervised visits and gradually increased. "You want her overnight?" Maya's voice rose. "She's 3 weeks old. Not now. Eventually. Look at page 4. The schedule doesn't start overnights until she's 6 months. Maya flipped through the pages, her heart pounding. Financial support, health insurance, college fund contributions. It was all there, detailed and thorough. "This is too much," she said, setting the papers down. "We barely know each other anymore. You can't just hand me a legal contract and expect me to sign it. I'm not expecting you to sign anything today. I just wanted you to see that I've thought this through, that I'm planning for the long term." Planning or controlling? Daniel's expression flickered with frustration. "I'm trying to help. I didn't ask for help. Sophie deserves stability. Structure. You said that yourself. Don't tell me what my daughter deserves." Maya's voice was low, dangerous. "She's my daughter too." The words hung in the air between them, heavy and undeniable. Sophie began to cry from the bassinet, and Maya moved automatically to pick her up. She held the baby close, a physical barrier between herself and Daniel. "I think you should leave," she said quietly. Daniel opened his mouth, then closed it. He nodded slowly, gathered the papers, and walked to the door. He paused with his hand on the knob. "I didn't mean to upset you. I thought I was doing the right thing." Maya didn't respond. She swayed gently with Sophie until she heard the door close. Then she sank onto the mattress and let the tears come. The legal papers haunted her for days. She read them over and over, looking for traps, for language that would give Daniel more power than she was comfortable with. But the more she read, the more she realized the agreement was actually fair. Generous, even, which somehow made her angrier. She didn't want generous. She didn't want fair legal documents. She wanted Daniel to have been there from the beginning. She wanted him to have held her hand during labor. She wanted him to have seen Sophie's first moments in the world. But wishing for a different past was pointless. The only question now was what future she would allow. Her friend Carmen came to visit on a Thursday afternoon, bringing takeout and opinions. Carmen was a paralegal, sharp and practical, the kind of person who cut through emotional fog with clean precision. "Let me see the papers," Carmen said, settling onto the floor with a container of pad thai. Maya handed them over and watched as Carmen read through every page, occasionally making small sounds of approval or interest. "This is solid," Carmen said finally. "Honestly, Maya, most fathers don't offer this much. He's covering everything. Medical, dental, life insurance with Sophie as beneficiary. There's even a clause about therapy if co-parenting gets difficult. That's supposed to make me feel better? It should. Look, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But from a legal standpoint, this protects you. If you don't have something in writing and things go south later, you'll end up in court anyway. This way, you have leverage." Maya took the papers back and stared at them. What if he stopped showing up? What if this is all just for show? Then you have these papers that legally obligate him to financial support. He can't just walk away. He already did once. Carmen reached out and squeezed Maya's hand. "I know, but people change sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. And if he doesn't, at least Sophie will have resources." Maya closed her eyes. "I don't want his money. I want him to actually be a father. Then give him the chance. Sign the papers. See if he follows through. If he doesn't, you're no worse off than you are now." After Carmen left, Maya sat with the papers spread across the floor while Sophie slept. She read through every clause again, this time more carefully. Carmen was right. The agreement protected her. It gave her structure and security. But signing it felt like admitting Daniel back in her life permanently. And that terrified her more than raising Sophie alone. The next time Daniel visited, Maya had made her decision. She let him hold Sophie while she retrieved the papers from where she'd hidden them under a stack of magazines. "I had a lawyer friend look at these," she said, sitting across from him. Daniel looked up sharply. "And," she said, "they're fair. More than fair." He relaxed slightly. "Good. That's what I wanted. But I'm not signing them yet." His face fell. "Why not?" "Because papers don't mean anything if you're not really committed. I need to see that you'll actually show up. That this isn't just guilt or obligation. How long do I have to prove myself? I don't know. As long as it takes." Daniel looked down at Sophie, his expression troubled. "I understand you're protecting her. But I need you to understand something too. I'm not doing this because I feel guilty. I mean, I do feel guilty. But that's not why I'm here." "Then why are you here?" He was quiet for a long moment, his thumb gently stroking Sophie's tiny hand. "When I saw that photo, something broke open inside me. I'd spent 9 months trying not to think about you, about the baby, trying to pretend it wasn't real. But seeing her face, seeing the date, knowing she was already born and I'd missed it, it destroyed me. Maya's throat tightened. She wanted to stay angry, but his words carried a weight that was hard to dismiss. I know I was a coward, Daniel continued. I know I hurt you. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. Whether you sign those papers or not, I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to be your father, however you'll let me. Maya blinked back tears. You can't just say pretty words and expect everything to be okay. I know. That's why I'm asking you to watch what I do, not just listen to what I say. They sat in heavy silence. Sophie made small sounds in her sleep, oblivious to the weight of the conversation happening around her. Finally, Maya spoke. I'll keep the papers, but I'm not signing them for at least 3 months. If you're still here, still consistent, then we'll talk about making it official. Daniel nodded slowly. 3 months. I can do that. And Daniel, Maya's voice hardened. If you disappear again, don't come back. I mean it. She deserves better than a father who comes and goes. I won't disappear. I promise. Maya wanted to believe him, but promises were easy. Time would tell if he meant it. The weeks turned into a month. Daniel established a routine. Tuesday and Thursday evenings, Saturday afternoons. He would come over, hold Sophie, help with whatever Maya needed. Sometimes he brought dinner. Sometimes he just sat quietly, watching the baby sleep. Maya remained guarded, but she couldn't deny that his presence made things easier. When Sophie cried for hours and Maya felt herself breaking, Daniel was there to take a turn walking her around the small apartment. When Maya was too exhausted to make food, Daniel ordered in and made sure she ate. He also started talking about his life, filling in the gaps of the past 3 years. His company had expanded rapidly. He'd been promoted twice. The job consumed him, he admitted. 80-hour weeks. Constant travel. It had seemed like the most important thing in the world until it wasn't. What changed? Maya asked one evening while Daniel fed Sophie a bottle. Honestly, that photo. I was sitting in my apartment, scrolling through my phone, not really paying attention. Then I saw your face and I just stopped. I read the caption, did the math, and suddenly every meeting, every contract, every promotion just fell hollow. Maya watched him cradle Sophie with practiced ease, so different from those first awkward attempts. Do you regret it? Your career? No, but I regret what I sacrificed for it. I regret not being there when you needed me. I survived without you. I know you did, but you shouldn't have had to. These conversations happened in fragments, late at night, when Sophie finally slept and exhaustion made honesty easier. Maya learned that Daniel's father had left when he was young, that he'd spent his whole life trying to be successful enough that no one could abandon him. That fear of failing as a father had made him run instead of stay. That's not an excuse, he said quietly one night. Just context. Maya appreciated that he didn't try to justify what he'd done, that he owned his mistakes without making them about him. Slowly, carefully, the wall between them began to crack. 6 weeks after Sophie's birth, Daniel showed up with an unusual request. My mother wants to meet her, he said, hesitant. She's flying in this weekend. I know it's a lot to ask. Maya's stomach churned. Meeting Daniel's family felt like crossing a line she wasn't ready to cross. Does she know about me? About everything? She knows I have a daughter. She knows I wasn't there at first. She's not happy with me about that. What did you tell her about me? The truth. That you're strong and you're an amazing mother, and I don't deserve the second chance you're giving me. Maya looked away, uncomfortable with the praise. I don't know if I'm ready for this. You don't have to do anything. I can meet her somewhere else. But she asked, and I thought I should tell you. Maya thought about Sophie growing up, about grandparents and extended family, about the support system she'd wanted to give her daughter but hadn't been able to provide alone. Where would we meet? She asked finally. Wherever you're comfortable. Here, a restaurant, a park. You choose. Maya considered. Her apartment felt too intimate. A restaurant too public. There's a park 2 blocks from here. We could meet there. Daniel's face brightened. Saturday afternoon? 2 o'clock? Okay. But, Daniel, if this gets overwhelming, I'm leaving. Of course. Whatever you need. Saturday arrived with perfect weather, which somehow made Maya more anxious. She dressed Sophie in one of the nicer outfits Daniel had bought, a soft yellow romper with tiny white flowers. She changed her own outfit 3 times before settling on jeans and a simple sweater. Carmen came over to help her get ready, brushing out Maya's hair and insisting she put on a little makeup. "You don't have to impress anyone," Carmen said, "but you'll feel more confident if you look put together. I feel like I'm going to a job interview. In a way, you are. You're meeting the grandmother of your child. It's high stakes." Maya checked the diaper bag obsessively, making sure she had everything. Bottles, diapers, wipes, extra clothes, blankets. Carmen watched with patient amusement. "You've got this," Carmen said, squeezing her shoulders. "You're Sophie's mother. That's all that matters." Maya arrived at the park 10 minutes early. She found a bench near the playground and sat with Sophie in her arms, watching families enjoy the warm afternoon. Children ran and shouted. Parents chatted on benches. Dogs chased balls across the grass. Normal life. The kind of life Maya wanted for Sophie. She saw Daniel before he saw her. He walked across the park with a woman who had to be his mother. She was tall, elegant, with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wore slacks and a cardigan, tasteful jewelry, the kind of woman who looked like she'd never had a hair out of place in her life. Maya's anxiety spiked. Daniel spotted her and waved. Maya waved back, her hand trembling slightly. They approached, and Daniel's mother's face softened the moment she saw Sophie. "Maya," Daniel said, "this is my mother, Catherine Brooks. Mom, this is Maya Rodriguez and Sophie." Catherine extended her hand, and Maya shook it awkwardly while trying to keep Sophie balanced. "It's lovely to meet you," Catherine said, her voice warm but formal. "May I?" She gestured towards Sophie, and Maya's instinct was to pull away, but she forced herself to nod. Catherine sat beside her on a bench, and Maya carefully transferred Sophie into her arms. Catherine held the baby with the ease of someone who'd done this before, her expression melting into something tender. "Oh, Daniel," she breathed. "She's perfect." Daniel stood nearby, hands in his pockets, looking nervous in a way Maya had never seen. "She has your eyes," Catherine said to him. "And your chin. Maya says she has my nose." Catherine glanced at Maya with a small smile. "She does. Poor thing." Despite herself, Maya almost laughed. They sat together on the bench while Catherine held Sophie, asking gentle questions. How was Maya feeling? Was she getting enough sleep? Did she have support? Maya answered carefully, not wanting to reveal too much, but also not wanting to seem defensive. "Daniel told me he wasn't there at the beginning," Catherine said quietly, her gaze still on Sophie. "I want you to know that I'm ashamed of him for that." Maya blinked, surprised. Catherine looked up, meeting her eyes. "I raised him better. I taught him that you don't run from responsibility, that you face hard things even when you're scared. He failed you, and he failed this beautiful girl. And I'm sorry for that." Maya's throat tightened. "Thank you. But I also want you to know that if he's here now, he means it. My son is many things, but he's not a liar. If he's promised to be Sophie's father, he will be." Maya glanced at Daniel, who was watching his mother with a mixture of embarrassment and gratitude. "I'm still figuring out if I can trust that," Maya admitted. "That's wise," Catherine said. "Trust should be earned. But I hope you'll give him the chance to earn it." They stayed at the park for over an hour. Catherine held Sophie most of that time, talking to her in soft tones, pointing out birds and trees and clouds. At one point, she asked if she could take a photo. "Just for me," she said. "Not to share. I just want to remember today." Maya hesitated, then nodded. Catherine took out her phone and snapped a picture of herself holding Sophie, both of them looking at the camera. Then she asked Daniel to take one of the 3 of them together. Maya sat stiffly beside Catherine, Sophie between them, while Daniel took several photos. When he showed them the result, Maya was startled by how much they looked like a real family. 3 generations. Connected. It made her chest ache with something she couldn't name. When it was time to leave, Catherine hugged Maya carefully, respectfully. "Thank you for letting me meet her, and for taking such good care of her. She's lucky to have you as her mother." Maya's eyes burned with unexpected tears. "Thank you." After Catherine left to meet a friend for dinner, Maya and Daniel walked slowly back toward her apartment. Maya, pushing the stroller Daniel had bought last week. "Your mother is nice," Maya said. "She liked you." "I could tell." "How could you tell?" "She hugged you." "She doesn't hug people she doesn't like." They walked in comfortable silence for a while. Then Daniel spoke again, his voice tentative. "Would you ever consider letting me help you move? To a bigger place?" Maya stopped walking. "What?" "Your apartment is small. There's barely room for Sophie's things. I could help you find something bigger. Cover the rent difference." "No." "Maya, just think about it." "I said no. I'm not taking your money like that. It's not charity. It's for Sophie. She needs space. She's 2 months old. She barely needs anything. But she will. And you're going back to work soon. You'll need room for childcare supplies, for her to play eventually." Maya's jaw tightened. "I can't afford a bigger place." "I know. That's why I'm offering to help." "And what happens if you stop paying? If you decide this is too much and you leave again? Then I'm stuck in a place I can't afford and Sophie and I are homeless." Daniel flinched. "I wouldn't do that. You don't know what you'd do. 3 months ago, you didn't think you'd abandon a pregnant woman either." The words were harsh, but Maya didn't take them back. Daniel looked away, his expression pained. "You're right," he said quietly. "I can't make promises about the future, but I can tell you that I've set up a trust for Sophie. Money that's hers no matter what happens between us. And I've added you as a beneficiary on my life insurance. If something happens to me, you and Sophie will be taken care of." Maya stared at him. "What did you do that?" 2 weeks ago." She didn't know what to say. The gesture was significant, binding. It meant he was thinking long-term, planning for contingencies. "I don't need your money," she said again, but her voice was softer now. "I know, but I need to give it. Please, let me do this." They reached her building, and Maya paused before going inside. "I'll think about it." It was the most she could offer, and from Daniel's expression, he knew it. 2 days later, Daniel arrived with printed listings. Maya wanted to be annoyed, but she couldn't help looking through them. 2-bedroom apartments in safe neighborhoods. Places with laundry in the building, with playgrounds nearby, with good schools in the district. "These are expensive," Maya said, flipping through the pages. "Let me worry about that." "Daniel, I can't let you do this." "Yes, you can. You just don't want to." She set the listings down and looked at him directly. "If I let you help me move, if I let you pay for a nicer apartment, that changes things between us. It makes me dependent on you. Or it makes us partners. People raising a child together. We're not together. I know, but we are co-parents. And co-parents help each other." Maya picked up the listings again, studying an apartment with big windows and a small balcony. She imagined Sophie playing in a real bedroom. Imagine having space to breathe. "I need to think about it," she said again. But this time, she took the papers with her when Daniel left. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Maya sat on the floor of her tiny apartment and cried. She cried for the life she'd thought she would have, for the partnership she'd imagined when she first met Daniel, for the loneliness of the past 9 months and the fear of the next 18 years. She cried because accepting his help felt like giving up her independence, but refusing it felt like punishing Sophie for Maya's pride. She cried because she was tired of being strong, tired of doing everything alone, tired of pretending she didn't need anyone. When the tears finally stopped, Maya made a decision. She would look at apartments with Daniel. She would let him help, not because she forgave him or trusted him completely, but because Sophie deserved better than this cramped studio. Because sometimes strength meant accepting help even when it was terrifying. She picked up her phone and sent a text before she could change her mind. "Okay, let's look at apartments this weekend." Daniel's response came immediately, 3 simple words that made her chest tighten. "Thank you. I promise you won't regret this." Maya set the phone down and looked around her small apartment. This place had been her refuge, her fortress. But maybe it was time to let someone else help hold the walls. Maybe it was time to stop fighting alone. The apartment hunt took 3 weekends. Maya insisted on seeing every option herself, refusing to let Daniel choose for her. Some places were too far from her job. Others felt sterile and cold. One had a landlord who made her uncomfortable with the way he kept staring at Sophie. But on the 3rd Saturday, they found it. A second-floor walk-up in a quiet neighborhood with tree-lined streets. 2 bedrooms, hardwood floors that creaked in a comforting way, windows that let in morning light. The kitchen was small but functional. The bathroom had a tub deep enough for baby baths, and there was a shared backyard where other families gathered on summer evenings. Maya walked through the empty rooms slowly, imagining furniture she didn't own yet. Sophie's crib in the smaller bedroom. A real bed for herself instead of a mattress on the floor. Space to move without tripping over boxes. "What do you think?" Daniel asked, standing in the doorway of what would be Sophie's room. Maya turned in a slow circle, taking it all in. "It's perfect." His face broke into a genuine smile. Yeah. But Daniel, I need to contribute something. I can't let you pay for everything. You're contributing by being Sophie's mother. That's worth more than rent. That's not fair to you. Life isn't fair, but we can make it work anyway." They signed a lease the following week. Daniel paid the deposit and first month's rent. Maya contributed what she could from her savings, which Daniel tried to refuse until she insisted. She needed to feel like she was still standing on her own feet, even if someone was helping her balance. Moving day was chaotic. Carmen showed up with her boyfriend and a borrowed truck. Daniel arrived early with professional movers he'd hired without asking. Maya wanted to argue, but was too overwhelmed to fight. Catherine appeared mid-morning with bags of groceries and cleaning supplies, immediately taking charge of organizing the kitchen, while Maya focused on Sophie's room. By evening, the apartment had transformed. Furniture assembled, boxes unpacked, pictures hung on walls. It didn't look like much yet, but it looked like home. Maya stood in the kitchen while Catherine taught her how to organize the cabinets efficiently. Sophie napped in her new crib, the baby monitor crackling softly on the counter. Daniel and Carmen's boyfriend were assembling a bookshelf in the living room, their laughter drifting through the open doors. "This is good for you," Catherine said quietly, arranging canned goods by type. "Having space. Having help." Maya nodded, too tired to speak. "And Maya..." Catherine paused, looking at her directly. "Thank you for letting us in. I know it's not easy." "It's terrifying," Maya admitted. "Love usually is." Maya's hand stilled. "I'm not in love with him." Catherine smiled gently. "I didn't say you were. But you love Sophie enough to let Daniel be part of her life. That takes courage." After everyone left, Maya walked through the quiet apartment holding Sophie. She showed her daughter each room, whispering plans for the future. "This is where you'll take your first steps. This is where we'll read bedtime stories. This is where you'll grow up safe and loved." When she finally put Sophie down for the night, Maya collapsed on her actual bed with actual sheets and pillows. Her phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. "How does it feel?" She smiled despite her exhaustion and typed back, "Like maybe things will be okay." "They will be. I promise." Maya set the phone aside and closed her eyes. For the first time in months, she fell asleep without fear weighing on her chest. The next few weeks settled into a new rhythm. Maya returned to work part-time, leaving Sophie with a daycare provider Daniel had helped her find. The separation was agonizing at first. Maya cried the entire bus ride to the office. But gradually it got easier. The routine provided structure, and knowing Sophie was safe, cared for, allowed Maya to focus. Daniel continued his regular visits, now coming to the new apartment where there was actually space for him to sit comfortably. He started bringing dinner every Tuesday, cooking simple meals in Maya's kitchen while she nursed Sophie or caught up on laundry. These evenings felt almost domestic, which both comforted and unsettled Maya. One Tuesday evening, Daniel arrived, looking unusually nervous. He set down grocery bags and immediately started unpacking them, avoiding eye contact. "What's wrong?" Maya asked, bouncing Sophie on her hip. "Nothing's wrong. I just need to tell you something." Maya's stomach dropped. Here it was. The moment he would say it was too much, too hard, that he needed to step back. "My company is opening a new office," Daniel said, still not looking at her. "In Seattle." "Okay. They want me to oversee it. It's a promotion. Significant increase in salary, equity, the whole package." Maya felt the blood drain from her face. "When?" "They want me there in 6 weeks." 6 weeks. Sophie would be 4 months old, just when Maya was starting to believe he might actually stay. "Congratulations," she said flatly. I told them no. Maya blinked. "What?" Daniel finally looked at her, his expression serious. "I told them I can't relocate. I have commitments here." "Daniel, that's your career. You can't turn that down." "Yes, I can." And I did. "But why?" He gestured between them at Sophie. "Because of this. Because I'm not missing any more of her life. Because I made a promise." Maya sat down slowly, Sophie still in her arms. "You're going to resent me for this." "No, I won't." "You will. Maybe not now, but eventually. You'll look back and wish you'd taken the opportunity." Daniel pulled out a chair and sat across from her. "Maya, I've spent my entire adult life chasing the next promotion, the next achievement. I thought that's what mattered. Then I met you, and I walked away from the most important thing that ever happened to me because I was scared. I'm not making that mistake twice. This is different. This is your livelihood. I'll find other opportunities, but Sophie only gets one childhood. I'm not missing it." Maya wanted to argue more, but the conviction in his voice stopped her. He meant it. He was actually choosing them over his career. "What did your boss say?" she asked quietly. He was surprised. "Try to convince me to reconsider, but I told him my answer was final." "And your mother?" Daniel smiled slightly. "She said she's proud of me, that she always knew I'd figure out what really matters eventually." They sat in silence for a moment. Sophie grabbed at Maya's necklace, making small cooing sounds. "Thank you," Maya said finally, "for staying. You don't have to thank me for being her father." "I do, because you could have chosen differently." Daniel reached across the table and gently touched Sophie's hand. "This is the only choice I want to make." 3 months after moving into the new apartment, Maya finally signed the custody agreement. Not because Daniel pressured her, but because he'd proven himself. He showed up for every scheduled visit. He called when he said he would. He contributed financially without holding it over her head. He asked Maya's opinion on decisions and respected her answers. They met with lawyers separately, then together. The agreement was finalized on a Wednesday afternoon in a conference room with too much fluorescent lighting. When they both signed the final page, Daniel didn't celebrate. He just looked relieved. "Thank you for trusting me," he said quietly. "Thank you for earning it." They walked out of the law office into afternoon sunlight. Daniel had taken a whole day off work to be there. Maya had used vacation time she couldn't afford to lose. But it felt important, marking this moment officially. "Want to get coffee?" Daniel asked. "I mean, if you have time." Maya checked her watch. She had an hour before she needed to pick up Sophie. "Okay." They found a cafe nearby and ordered. Daniel paid, despite Maya's protest. They sat at a small table by the window, watching people pass on the sidewalk. "I've been thinking," Daniel said, stirring sugar into his coffee, "about what happens next." "What do you mean?" "Sophie's going to start noticing things soon. Wondering why mommy and daddy don't live together. Other kids will ask questions." Maya's chest tightened. "She's 7 months old. We have time before that becomes an issue." "I know, but I want us to be on the same page about how we explain things. About what story we tell her. The truth. That we weren't together when she was born. That you're in her life now. And what if she asks why we're not together?" Maya looked down at her coffee. "We tell her that sometimes people care about each other but aren't right for each other romantically. That it doesn't mean we love her any less." Daniel nodded slowly. "That's good. That's honest." "Were you expecting a different answer?" "I don't know what I was expecting." They drank their coffee in contemplative silence. Maya watched Daniel's reflection in the window. He looked older than when she'd first met him. Tired in a deeper way, but also more settled, more present. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if I'd been braver?" Daniel asked suddenly. "If I'd stayed when you told me you were pregnant?" Maya considered the question carefully. "Sometimes, but I try not to live in what-ifs. We might have made it work, or we might have grown to hate each other. Relationships built on obligation rarely succeed." "Is that what you think this would have been? Obligation?" "I think we barely knew each other. We were basically strangers who slept together a few times. That's not a foundation for raising a child together." Daniel flinched slightly. "Fair point. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm being realistic. What we have now, this co-parenting thing, it works because we're not trying to force something that isn't there. And if something was there, would you want it?" Maya set down her coffee cup carefully. Are you asking me if I want to date you? I'm asking if you'd ever consider it. Not now, but maybe someday. She looked at him directly. Daniel, you hurt me. Badly. And I've forgiven you, mostly because I had to for Sophie's sake. But that doesn't mean I'm ready to open myself up to you romantically. I don't know if I ever will be. I understand. Do you? Because you need to be okay with the possibility that we'll never be more than co-parents. That this, she gestured between them, is as close as we get. Daniel was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was soft. I am okay with it, because having you in my life this way is better than not having you at all. Maya felt her eyes burn. She blinked hard, refusing to cry in a public cafe. We should go. I need to get Sophie. They walked to the daycare together. Daniel had started occasionally joining Maya for pickup, and the provider had begun greeting him warmly. Inside, Sophie was on a play mat with two other babies, reaching for dangling toys. When Sophie saw Maya and Daniel, her face lit up. She kicked her legs excitedly, making sounds of recognition. Daniel scooped her up, and Sophie grabbed his face with both hands, drooling happily on his chin. Hey, baby girl, Daniel murmured. Did you have a good day? Maya watched them together and felt something shift inside her chest. Not love, not yet, but something softer than anger, something that looked like hope. Sophie's first birthday arrived with shocking speed. Maya couldn't believe a year had passed since that terrifying, beautiful day in the hospital. A year since she'd held her newborn daughter and wondered how she would survive alone. She wasn't alone anymore. Daniel had asked weeks in advance if he could help plan the party. Maya initially resisted, wanting to control everything herself. But eventually she relented. They planned together, choosing decorations, ordering a small cake, inviting a handful of friends and family. The party was held in Maya's apartment on a Saturday afternoon. Carmen came with her boyfriend. Catherine arrived early to help set up. A few of Maya's co-workers stopped by, and Daniel's brother flew in from Denver, eager to meet his niece for the first time. The apartment filled with laughter and conversation. Sophie wore a ridiculous party hat and smashed her face into a personal cake while everyone took photos. She was walking now, unsteadily, and kept toddling between guests with frosting-covered hands. At one point, Maya stood in the kitchen watching Daniel hold Sophie while she opened presents. His brother said something that made Daniel laugh, a real, unguarded sound Maya rarely heard. Catherine stood nearby, her phone out, documenting everything. Carmen appeared beside Maya, holding a glass of wine. You okay? Yeah, just taking it all in. He's good with her. He is. And with you? Maya glanced at her friend. What do you mean? Come on, Maya. I see the way he looks at you when you're not paying attention. Carmen, don't. I'm just saying. He's proven himself, and you're clearly comfortable around him now. Would it be so terrible to consider giving him a real chance? We're co-parenting. That's enough. Is it though? Are you happy? Maya thought about the question honestly. Was she happy? Her life was still hard. Money was tight despite Daniel's contributions. She was constantly exhausted. Her career had stalled while she focused on motherhood. But when she looked at Sophie, covered in frosting and giggling uncontrollably, she felt something close to joy. I'm content, Maya said finally. That's more than I expected to be. Carmen squeezed her shoulder. You deserve more than content. Later that evening, after everyone had left and Sophie was asleep, Daniel helped Maya clean up. They worked in comfortable silence, throwing away paper plates and packing up leftover food. Thank you for letting me be part of today, Daniel said, tying off a garbage bag. It meant a lot. Of course. You're a father. I know. But a year ago, I wasn't sure you'd ever let me be. Maya rinsed dishes in the sink, considering his words. A year ago, I wasn't sure either. Daniel leaned against the counter, watching her. Can I tell you something? Sure. This past year, being Sophie's father, being part of your lives, it's been the best year of my life. Even with all the hard parts. Even with the sleepless nights and the worry and the constantly feeling like I'm doing everything wrong. It's been the best year. Maya dried her hand slowly. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that I'm grateful. Not just for Sophie, but for you. For giving me this chance. For letting me prove I'm not the man who ran away. You're welcome. They stood facing each other in the small kitchen, the apartment quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. Daniel looked like he wanted to say more, but he held back. "I should go," he said finally. "Let you get some rest." Maya walked him to the door. He paused before leaving, turning back. "Maya, yeah. If you ever change your mind about us, I want you to know I'm here. I'll always be here." Before she could respond, he left, closing the door softly behind him. Maya stood in the empty living room, surrounded by deflated balloons and torn wrapping paper. Her heart beat faster than it should. She thought about what Carmen had said, what Daniel had just implied, the possibility hanging in the air between them. She wasn't ready yet, but maybe eventually she would be. 18 months after Sophie's birth, Maya made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. She invited Daniel to stay for dinner after one of his regular visits. Not takeout, a real meal she cooked herself. Daniel accepted with barely concealed pleasure. He helped in the kitchen, chopping vegetables while Maya sautéed chicken. Sophie sat in her high chair, making a mess with finger foods and babbling in her own language. It felt absurdly normal, absurdly right. "I've been thinking," Maya said, stirring pasta, "about what you said at Sophie's birthday party." Daniel paused mid-chop. "Which part?" "About being grateful. About wanting to be here." "Okay." Maya took a breath. "I think I'm ready to try something." "Try what?" She turned to face him. "Dating. Really dating. Like going out, just the two of us. Seeing if there's actually something here beyond co-parenting." Daniel set down the knife carefully. "Are you serious?" "I think so. I mean, we already spend so much time together. We know each other's worst habits. We've survived the hardest year of parenting. If we can handle that, maybe we can handle a relationship." "Maya, I don't want you to feel pressured." "I'm not. I'm scared, yes. But I'm not pressured. This is my choice." Daniel crossed the small kitchen and stood in front of her. He didn't touch her, but his eyes held hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "If we do this," he said carefully, "we do it slowly. No pressure, no expectations. Just seeing where it goes." "Agreed. And if it doesn't work, if we realize we're better as friends, we don't let it affect Sophie. We stay committed to co-parenting no matter what." "Of course. Then yes, I'd love to take you on a date." Maya smiled, genuinely, for the first time in a long time. "Okay then." They finished making dinner together. Ate as a family, Sophie throwing more food than she consumed. After the meal, Daniel gave Sophie her bath while Maya cleaned up. When Sophie was in pajamas and ready for bed, they both read to her, trading off pages from her favorite book about a hungry caterpillar. Sophie fell asleep between them, her small body warm and trusting. Daniel carefully lifted her and placed her in the crib. They stood together in the doorway of her room, watching her sleep. "She's getting so big," Daniel whispered. "Too big. I want to slow it down." "We can't, but we can be here for all of it." Maya looked up at him. In the dim light from the hallway, his face was soft, unguarded. Before she could second-guess herself, she reached for his hand. He laced his fingers through hers, his grip warm and steady. They walked to the living room together, still holding hands. Daniel sat on the couch, and Maya sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. They didn't talk. They just sat in the comfortable silence of two people who'd been through hell together and come out the other side. Eventually, Daniel lifted their joined hands and pressed a gentle kiss to her knuckles. "Thank you," he whispered, "for giving us this chance." Maya rested her head on his shoulder. "Thank you for waiting." Their first official date happened 2 weeks later. Catherine eagerly volunteered to babysit, arriving at Maya's apartment with bags of toys and activities. Maya felt guilty leaving Sophie, but Catherine shooed them out the door with a knowing smile. Daniel took her to a small Italian restaurant, intimate and candlelit. They talked about everything except Sophie, about Maya's work, her dreams of eventually going back to school, about Daniel's job, his brother's upcoming wedding, his mother's new hobby of oil painting. It felt like that first night in Chicago, before everything got complicated. Easy conversation, natural chemistry, the connection that had drawn them together in the first place. Over dessert, Daniel reached across the table for her hand. Can I tell you something I've never told you before? Sure. That night in Chicago, when we first met, I knew you were special. I knew I should be careful, that getting involved with you could change my life. And I was right. You did change my life, just not in the way I expected. Maya's throat tightened. I thought the same thing about you. I almost didn't say yes to dinner that night. Why did you? Because you looked at me like I was interesting, like I had something worth hearing. Nobody had looked at me like that in a long time. You're more than interesting. You're extraordinary. I'm really not. I'm just a single mother trying to survive. You're a woman who carried a baby alone, gave birth alone, raised her alone until I finally got my head out of my ass. You're strong in ways I'll never be. Maya squeezed his hand. You're strong too, just differently. You faced your fear. You came back. That takes courage. They finished dinner and walked through the city streets, hands intertwined. Daniel walked her to her door, but didn't try to come inside. Instead, he cupped her face gently and kissed her forehead. I'll call you tomorrow, he promised. I'd like that. Maya floated into her apartment, her lips tingling from where his kiss had almost landed. Catherine looked up from where she was folding baby clothes on the couch. Good date? She asked with a knowing smile. Really good. I'm glad. You both deserve happiness. Thank you. For everything. For helping with Sophie. For being patient with me. Catherine set down the clothes and pulled Maya into a hug. You're family now. This is what family does. The dates continued. Once a week at first, then twice. They went to movies and museums. They walked through parks and ate at hole-in-the-wall restaurants Daniel had researched. Sometimes Catherine babysat. Sometimes Carmen did. Sometimes they brought Sophie along, navigating parenthood and dating simultaneously. It wasn't always smooth. They argued about discipline approaches, about how much to share on social media, about future plans and financial decisions. But they learned to communicate, to compromise, to remember that they were on the same team. 6 months into their relationship, Daniel asked Maya if she'd ever consider letting him move in. Not immediately, he clarified quickly, but eventually, when she was ready. Maya thought about it seriously, about what it would mean to share space fully, to wake up next to him every morning, to navigate the complete domesticity of cohabitation. Ask me again in 6 months, she said. If we're still doing well then, we'll talk about it. Daniel accepted her answer without complaint. He understood that trust was still being built, that rushing could break what they'd carefully constructed. The 6 months passed in a blur of Sophie's milestones and their growing relationship. Sophie's second birthday came and went. Then Christmas, with Daniel joining them for gift opening and too many cookies. Then Valentine's Day, when Daniel gave Maya a simple silver bracelet engraved with Sophie's birth date. When the 6 months were up, Daniel didn't ask again. Maya brought it up herself one evening after Sophie was asleep. Remember what you asked me? About moving in? Daniel looked up from his laptop. Yes, I think I'm ready, if you still want to. His face broke into a wide smile. Really, but we need our own rooms. For now, I'm not ready to share a bedroom. Not yet. I don't care where I sleep as long as I'm here with you and Sophie. They told Sophie together, using simple words she could understand. Daddy was going to live with them. He'd be here every day. She wouldn't have to say goodbye anymore. Sophie clapped her hands and said, Dad, stay. They laughed, both blinking back tears. Daniel moved in gradually over the course of a month. His clothes filled half the closet. His toothbrush appeared in the bathroom. His coffee maker replaced Maya's old one. The apartment became their space instead of hers. It felt natural, right? Like pieces finally fitting together the way they should have from the beginning. One night, 3 months after Daniel moved in, Maya woke to find Sophie standing beside her bed. Mama, Sophie whispered. Bad dream. Maya lifted her daughter into bed, cuddling her close. Sophie snuggled against her chest, her breathing already evening out. The bedroom door opened quietly. Daniel appeared, his hair messy from sleep. Is she okay? Bad dream. She's fine now. Daniel climbed into bed on Sophie's other side, sandwiching their daughter between them. Sophie sighed contentedly, one small hand reaching for Daniel's shirt. They lay together in the darkness, a family. Not the family Maya had imagined 2 years ago, but perhaps a better one, built on truth and forgiveness and the daily choice to show up for each other. Maya, Daniel whispered, "Yeah, I love you. I should have said it before, but I was waiting for the right moment. But there isn't a right moment, so I'm saying it now. I love you." Maya felt her eyes fill with tears. She reached across Sophie's sleeping form and found Daniel's hand. "I love you too." They fell asleep that way, holding hands over their daughter's body, 3 heartbeats in sync. 2 years later, Daniel proposed, not with a grand gesture or public spectacle, but with a quiet question asked in their kitchen while Maya made breakfast and Sophie played with blocks on the floor. "Will you marry me?" Maya turned from the stove, spatula in hand. "What?" Daniel pulled a ring from his pocket, simple and elegant. "I want to marry you, not because of Sophie, though I love being her father, but because I love you, because you're my partner and my best friend, because I can't imagine my life without you in it." Maya set down the spatula with shaking hands. "Daniel Brooks, are you proposing to me while I'm making scrambled eggs? Is that a no?" "It's a yes, you ridiculous man. Yes, I'll marry you." He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her properly, deeply, the way he'd wanted to kiss her 2 years ago but hadn't been allowed. Sophie looked up from her blocks and giggled. "Mama, Dada kissing." They broke apart, laughing. Daniel scooped Sophie into his arms. "Mama and Dada are getting married. What do you think about that?" "Party?" Sophie asked hopefully. "Yes, baby, there will be a party." The wedding was small and intimate, held in Catherine's backyard on a perfect spring afternoon. Sophie served as flower girl, taking her job very seriously. Carmen was Maya's maid of honor. Daniel's brother was his best man. Maya wore a simple white dress. Daniel wore a navy suit. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves, promising to love and support each other, to be partners in parenting and in life, to never stop choosing each other even when it was hard. When the officiant pronounced them married, Daniel kissed Maya like she was precious, like she was everything. Sophie cheered along with the small crowd of guests. "Yay, Mama! Yay, Dada!" At the reception, Maya danced with her new husband while Sophie spun in circles nearby. Catherine took approximately 1,000 photos. Carmen cried into her champagne. It was chaotic and imperfect and absolutely beautiful. Later, when Sophie was asleep in Catherine's guest room and the other guests had left, Daniel and Maya sat on the porch steps, still in their wedding clothes. "We did it," Maya said softly. "We did." From that comment on a photo to this, it doesn't seem real. Daniel put his arm around her shoulders. "It's real. We're real." Maya leaned into him, feeling the solid warmth of his body. She thought about the scared, angry woman she'd been 2 years ago, about the sleepless nights and the constant fear, about the moment she'd almost deleted his comment and blocked him forever. "I'm glad I answered you," she said. "That night when you asked if she was yours. I'm glad I told you the truth. So am I. Best decision either of us ever made." They sat together in the peaceful darkness, two people who'd found their way back to each other through pain and persistence, and a little girl who'd changed everything. Sophie would grow up with both her parents. She'd grow up knowing she was loved, wanted, fought for. She'd grow up in a home built not on perfection, but on the daily choice to keep trying, keep forgiving, keep loving even when it was hard. And that, Maya thought as Daniel squeezed her hand, was worth everything. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.